Hi. Legal and ethical responsibilities in a self-contained classroom. As a special education teacher in a self-contained classroom, I believe that legal and ethical principles must guide every decision I make for my students with autism spectrum disorder. Legally, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, requires schools to provide a free, appropriate public education through an individualized education program. For me, this means ensuring that the goals we set for students are measurable, personalized, and implemented in the classroom, not just written on paper. Another important legal principle is the least restrictive environment. Even though my students spend much of their day in a self-contained setting, the law says they should still have access to the general education environment when appropriate. My role is to advocate for those opportunities, whether that means supporting participation in special recess or school-wide activities. Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act and the Americans with Disabilities Act add to this responsibility by requiring schools to provide equal access and effective communication, including support such as augmentative and alternative communication devices, interpreters, and visual tools. Ethnically, I am guided by the Council for Exceptional Children's professional standards, which emphasize dignity, respect, and a strengths-based approach. For me, this means I look for what my students can do, not just the skills they need to develop. If a student loves building with blocks or drawing, I use those interests as a gateway to build literacy, math, and problem-solving skills. It also means I am responsible for providing a safe and supportive learning environment. That includes using proactive behavioral support, teaching self-regulation skills, and avoiding harmful practices such as restraints or seclusions unless absolutely necessary in an emergency. Advocacy is also a key part of my role. Many families of students with autism can feel overwhelmed by the special education process. As their teacher, I see myself as both an educator and an advocate. I make sure parents understand their rights and their voices are heard during IEP meetings and that their child receives the services and accommodations they are entitled to. Ethically, advocacy also means honoring cultural values, family perspectives, and language preferences, such as whether a family prefers person-first language like student with autism or identity-first language like autistic student. In practice, applying these legal and ethical principles is about more than just compliance. It is about creating a classroom where students with autism feel safe, valued, and supported to grow. It is also about making sure families know they have a partner who will stand beside them and advocating for their child's needs. By combining legal requirements with ethical commitments, I can ensure that my students not only receive the education they are entitled to, but also the dignity and opportunities they deserve. Thank you.